Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tarot by Cecilia on Patreon and members only on Facebook. This is your love and finance tarot guidance for the month of June 2020. If you are joining in from podcast land, welcome and enjoy this month's tarot guidance, which can be found as part of a subscription package through the Patreon app, which you can download from your app store or in my members only area on Facebook, which is accessible by clicking on Use App at the top of my Facebook page. I'm not sure if I would label June as the biggest month of the year, but it certainly has a little bit of everything, and then some. How far should we backtrack? To March 21st, when Saturn entered Aquarius, or to April 25th, when Pluto began its retrograde? At any rate, we now stand at 4 retrogrades, with Saturn, Venus, and Jupiter having joined Pluto during May. And this month we will add to that column. Saturn will spend the entirety of June still in Aquarius before retrograding back into Capricorn on July 1st. So let's take it from the top. June the 2nd, Mercury, which is now in Cancer, enters its pre-shadow phase. It will end its post-shadow phase on July 26th, and I want you to tuck the latter day away for future reference. Many of you know we entered eclipse season back at the 2-degree Gemini new moon on May 22nd. The first eclipse of the season arrives on June the 5th as a full moon penumbral lunar eclipse at 15 degrees Sagittarius, being the first in the series since the North and South nodes switched signs to Gemini and Sagittarius back on May the 5th. How is it that most eclipses seem to include a Mercury retrograde? Oh my God. This one begins on June 18th, not going direct until July the 12th. This entire retrograde is in Cancer and brings the total of retrogrades to 5 at this point. On the 20th, the Sun will enter Cancer at the time of the summer-winter solstice, and if you have been with me for a while, then you know I have been calling this time frame as a kickoff to a major news cycle, one that leads to your hopes and dreams. Just a side note, for the first time ever, Stonehenge will be live streaming the solstice this year. Don't let me forget, because I think that sounds very cool. The second eclipse of the season arrives hours later on June 21st as a new moon annular solar eclipse at 0 degrees Cancer, indicating a very karmic new beginning in some area of your life. Neptune will begin its annual retrograde at 20 degrees Pisces on the 23rd, asking you to turn inward and pay attention to your dreams, which will likely be very intense at the time of its station. This means that there will be 6 retrogrades in play until the 25th, when Venus will turn direct at 5 degrees Gemini, bringing the total back down to 5. While I would probably call the Cancer eclipse the highlight of the month, perhaps equally important is Mars moving into home sign of Aries on June 27th. This is a big deal because it only happens every 2 years, and even if only for a brief time, it will provide you with the energy to get some things underway. Mars will be in Aries for an extended stay, and next month we will begin to talk about its retrograde cycle, which will take us into next year. If you have anything important to accomplish this year, you will need to be ready by month's end to move forward with it. At the time of the full moon on the 5th, there are a couple of notable Mercury aspects which will flavor this eclipse, and Uranus will get in on the action as well. Expect the unexpected. Know that with Uranus, the unpredictability is out of left field, and the eclipse brings a permanent end to something. There will be all kinds of news, both personal and global, and it will be interesting to see what falls out when the universe shakes things up. A square between Mercury and Chiron may feel a bit like a dart to the forehead, bringing your attention to something which absolutely needs fixing. To add to the tension already in the air, the following day, the Sun will square Mars, and it will not be pretty, with the more powerful flexing their power at this time. Mars will make up for things on the 18th in a sextile with Jupiter, bringing you optimism toward your goals. Wow, what a difference 2 weeks will make. The very tail end of the month brings in a slew of powerful aspects. For more on all of this, including ones that I skipped over, okay? Consult my calendar of planetary events on my website. You might want to keep it as a shortcut to your phone so as to have it handy at all times this month. June is a game changer, and I dare say that however things are at the beginning of the month, the landscape will be totally different by the end. This month I am using one of my favorites, the Sawyer's Path Tarot. And I've got to tell you, I mean, there is no... We'll compare stories. How's that? When we get to the end of the month. Because from how it begins to how it ends, I'm telling you, it's two totally different things. And as I'm looking at the cards here, I'm really seeing the biggest, like where those roads diverge and you start to, look in new directions. It's between the first eclipse and the second eclipse. All right, that 2-week time period. Now, we always talk about the space between, but there is so much that's going on here. And you are looking for the road to lead you away from the hard times. The one thing that is extremely obvious here with this month is that the universe is setting this all up. But, and here's a big but, okay, it is giving you numerous opportunities. And what it's saying is pay attention, all right? You don't want to miss them. You want to be able to take advantage of them. And I'm seeing here that it's possible with everything that's going on, especially around the full moon, to, be ignoring things that you should be paying attention to. Relationships of all types are highlighted here, including the loved ones, perhaps especially the loved ones. There are those where there's a bond that can never be broken. And there are those where perhaps for sanity's sake, there needs to be some form of detachment and letting go. Now, you've got to remember, we have a Venus retrograde going on this month. We have a Mercury retrograde coming in. Both of those deal with relationships. We are also in eclipse season. And guess what? It very much has to do with relationships as well. So that's going to be a major focus of this month. And you may find yourself needing to choose on multiple fronts which way to go. Take things slow. There is no rushing here. You got to remember, you still have Mars in Pisces up until the end of the month. So there is no dashing or rushing into things. I really think if you did, you would miss a lot, okay? And there's a great deal here to take in. Now, you might be, like the universe dragging you, kicking and screaming into the next part, all right? Here's where it's important sometimes. Are you defending something that is outdated? Just because on, principle that you think you're supposed to? Or should you be letting it go? So there's also a major assessment that's taking place this month, which is asking you to look over what and who belong in your life, okay? And what and who do not. And you may very well find yourself making multiple choices by the time that Cancer eclipse occurs. Remember, I said it's at 0 degrees. It's very karmic. So what you leave behind and what you begin, okay? Definitely some major change coming in this month. This may not have to do with your entire life. It could be just various aspects. But I think that you will be amazed at where it's sending you off to next. I call BS may become a rather common phrase during the month of June. Now, it's been going on. People have been doing this all along over these last few months because we know we're in this important cycle, which is coming to a close by month's end. Pay attention once again, because there is some form of truth that is coming out. Could be in your own personal life, things that you're dealing with. It could be things that you see even on a global level, okay? But the truth is what is going to really help put things on the proper course. And we're talking about the beginning of a major transformation. Major. I do not know what you need to overcome in your life, what you need to end, what you need to begin. But the 2 weeks between the two eclipses, they may be extremely intense for you. But where you are when it's time for that second eclipse, standing there at the solstice will feel pretty darn good. And you may find yourself almost in disbelief, saying, Cecilia told me this would happen, but I really didn't believe it was possible, because it's like a major victory for you. Change is coming. Some of it's here. It's as far as the eye can see. And at the time of the solstice, which is really very interesting to me, I'm telling you, that's when you start a new cycle, the one that pertains to your hopes and dreams. All right? You're finally going to make it happen. And that will be over the months of June, July, August, and September, putting you in a position in October where you feel more secure. You feel surrounded by the right people at that time. But of all of the issues that you have that you need to lay to rest, at least one of them that's been hanging over your head will be laid to rest, I want to say, before the month is over. Maybe by the time the solstice or the Cancer eclipse arrive, because you can finally relax a little bit. Now, some of what is going on may deal with part of your finances, and how things are structured, because I see here the need to have things more organized in order to attain that security that you desire, because finance is part of that security. Am I going to tell you that someone, or perhaps more than one individual, crops up from your past over these next 4 weeks and even beyond? Oh, absolutely. There's a really good possibility here. And, you figure you have Venus retrograde, you have Mercury retrograde. Both of them are capable of making this happen. Plus, you have the eclipses saying, it's time to decide, because they add an air of permanence. All right? Are you going to permanently close that door if that person comes back around? Or are you going to open it? Because I see by the Cancer solar eclipse the possibility of, I don't want to say a reunion, but perhaps a truce. All right? Putting down those, whatever you want to call it, like when people put down their swords in battle, that kind of thing. I think that's what they do when they call a truce. But there's those eggshells, right? This might be that thing we've been talking about for a really, really long time. That relationship or relationships where there's someone that you feel like you're tiptoeing around on eggshells, because if you just look at them cross-eyed or glance in their direction, they're, want to take your head off. And, there's definitely something that's going on there. So is that possible? Is that where the reset is coming in? But here's the thing, okay? I do firmly believe that it's part of the story of the 4 months that I was just talking about. All right? So I don't think, I want to say like by August, there's something major that's changing, which will affect the outcome of this particular relationship or relationships. Now, that may sound a bit bizarre, but as you watch it play out, you'll see what I mean. So my advice would be not to go all in. In other words, what I'm seeing here is to play it easy, okay? Be persistent, but play it easy. Up until about September, I'm telling you, things are changing in September. So can you do that? Can you mind your P's and Q's for 4 months? All right? And the reason I'm saying this is it doesn't mean that if there's some kind of a truce called that you can't speak to the person. It's just kind of like you got to go with the flow. You don't want to rock the boat right now, all right? Because there's something going on. And I see at the time of the solstice, a lot of people really standing up and starting to take charge. Remember, I've been saying that in July, you're feeling back in control again. Many options here. Now, one of the things that's going on is not always being sure, and that might be why you need time, right? Not always being sure if people are really being sincere, if they're really being their true self. I think that's why it's important to wait. But I think in September, you'll definitely know. All right? There's a big difference by then. In the meantime, you need to make the choices that are for you. This is about your hopes and dreams. And it's right there. It's like, when you see, it's just like the doors opening to it. And you can say, that's what I want. You've been saying it for a while, but there is a period here where the universe is asking you, I want to say, to wait, to take your time, because you want to be sure. Now, this doesn't have to be about love. It can be about anything, but there's definitely something important that's going on here, something that you have wanted, and I'm here to tell you that by September you will be celebrating. I feel as though whatever this is very important, and that the majority of you have been waiting what feels like many years to see this happen. Now, this is the beginning of it that's coming in, all right? So you're not in charge of that part just yet. Well, I say in September things are changing to the point where you will feel that you are. But look at this. It's like the doors are finally starting to open. There is a need here to be wise enough to understand, I want to say, where you fit in and where you don't. It's kind of like a square peg in a round hole, that kind of thing, because it feels as though you've been trying in a particular area. Maybe you didn't, almost like you felt you didn't have a choice, but it hasn't quite been working. So that may be something that is part of the future, where you can begin to make plans to find where you belong, whether it's finding your tribe, finding the right home, the right job, the right relationship. There's a feeling of what is discomfort there, that somewhere around August, September, that's beginning to change. By the end of June, there is so much that's beginning to, I want to use the word separate, okay? And you very often, if you've been listening to me for a long time, you've heard me mention separations and celebrations, okay? And that's one of the things that needs to happen, is separating from things which are painful. That is what allows you to regain control of your life once again. And that's what brings the celebrations. Now, it doesn't happen in a split second, okay? Usually takes a little time, like a couple moons coming in, a couple months maybe. But whatever is going on here, this is such a, I don't want to use the word volatile, but in some people's lives it may seem volatile. This is such a turbulent, chaotic time frame. Doesn't have to be bad, but it is meant to shift your focus. It's meant to make you see things differently, and to bring recovery to your life, to bring a return of optimism to your life. I love when I say things and then I put down cards and there they are. You're working so hard on this, especially in the first 3 weeks of this month. It's like having it ready for that new moon, for that major reset. And when the solstice comes, right, it's the solstice followed, right, hours later by, this very special new moon solar eclipse at 0 degrees. All right. Can't even begin to tell you. This is where you take back your power. This is where things begin moving forward toward the future that you want. It's like you're not burning bridges, but you are definitely turning your back on a whole lot of stuff. And the manifestation that is coming is major, and it's there. Like you've achieved something special, whether it's through finances or relationships or whatever it is that you desire. It's in that, August, September, October. You got it all going on. You're seeing it begin to materialize. And it doesn't mean life stops there either. We will have so much more to talk about. So, the beginning of this month is kind of like you're still not in charge, all right? And the universe is guiding you toward wow, exactly what you need. And then it's like, psh, man, release the floodgates. I'm telling you, and it's like you come out swinging. And that's at the end of the month. All right, I'm telling you, it's at the end of the month. It'll be when Mars goes into Aries. No doubt in my mind. That is one of the major significant things that is taking place. All right. And the reason is that, Aries is the leader. Aries comes first. Mars is the aggressor. Mars, takes charge. And that's you taking charge of your life and, right? Definitely a happening thing, giving you more to hold on to. There is so much that's happening here. You really do want to keep your wits about you, because I am telling you, you are going to be like, wow, like holy freaking wow, what just happened? Okay. When you get to the end of June, it's like, I don't know, like turning around and seeing what's in your wake. All right. The parts of life that you absolutely slayed. Okay. How did I do that? How did I come out the victor? All right. This is towards your happiness. It's towards your abundance. But there's still a lot. Like you got a ways to go. It's what it's saying. And I really feel that you're carrying that load from, that June to September time frame. But it is oh so worth it. In whatever part of your life you're taking back your power. All right. And I feel like it's part of your power. It could go back a long ways, but whatever was in the last 3 months, all right, think about that. Since the pandemic, since Saturn switch signs, whatever's going on, that's where you're looking at feeling more carefree. That's where that new beginning finally comes in. It's everywhere, all right, but it is up to you and you alone to maintain focus, not to go too much in any one direction or the other, so that you can accomplish this and get to where it is that you want to go, because your hopes and dreams are what matters. And I am like so adamant about it, that what comes before the month is over is putting you on that path of realization. How long have we been talking about this? For years. And it kept saying those hopes and dreams are set aside. They're set aside. You got to do this. You got to take care of that. Da. Well, by golly, you're I don't know what else to say, because I don't want to curse here, but you're taking care of it all. And you're putting yourself in a position. It's like a springboard to a new life. Holy guacamole, Batman. Let me tell you, this reading could not end on a better note. I just can't even begin to tell you. This month, the universe is setting things straight. Not in the beginning of the month, but by the end of the month. And you are as well. I mean, you need to seize the opportunities that are there. That's why I told you back in the beginning of this reading, pay attention, because they're important. All right. This is all part of what, you've been setting those intentions at each new moon. When this new moon arrives this month, the intentions that you set there's something very special going on. Okay. This is like karma beyond belief, and perhaps even a tremendous change in luck, something that so many of you may feel you really truly need. I am beyond ecstatic about this, okay, because I really feel that, in recent months especially, where you had been feeling as though you were making progress, you felt as though you kind of lost your power. All right, pandemic or not, something happened, something changed, and you are taking it back. No ifs, ands, or buts. One of the most important things that you can do is to keep your cool. And above all, remember to be kind to people. I'll tell you what, as I'm looking at this, I can't wait to bring you your individual sun sign readings for June, because, there's something amazing that is happening. And really, it is a big finally. It's at long last. All right, you've been trying to get on this road for a long, long time, and the road is finally coming up. I want to thank you very much for being here, and I'll see you again real soon. Take care.